Hello Year 4 and welcome to today's English lesson. In today's lesson we're going to be writing effective sentences about plot point 6 where the girl sees a huge fortress for the first time. So our steps to success today are to include time adverbial and personification, simile and a metaphor, and dialogue. You'll need a double page spread again please, so you might want to pause the video here again whilst you set up your 3 learning chunks on one side and then you've got your writing side ready as well. Okay, so for our first learning chunk we're going to be thinking about time adverbials that we're going to open our sentence with. We're also going to collect descriptions for what she can see and words that we might use to describe this building. And then we're also going to use a technique called personification. And personification is where you give human features to something that is non-human. So you act as though it is a person, even though it's not. So let's start with some time adverbials. I'll do an example in each column and then you can collect some and I'll add a couple more on there as well. So remember the last time we did our sentence decking, the girl was on the boat and she's been travelling for some time now until she reaches the fortress. So you might use as she continued. And again, we're going to use a comma after these time adverbials because they're going to come at the front of our sentence, so they will be fronted adverbials. Okay? It could be that you feel that she's come across it out of nowhere. She's just been sailing along the river all this time, and out of nowhere something appeared in front of her. You might think about suddenly, okay, or as she continued along a few hours later type thing. Then the descriptions box is going to be, well, what is it that she can see in front of her? Are you going to say that it's a fortress? Are you going to say that it's a castle? What do you think she's looking at? Any words that sort of summarise what the thing that's in front of her. And then your personification, so where we're giving those human characteristics to something that's not human, is how this sort of building appeared. So you might describe it as it grew. It might have grew from the water. Okay, it might have rose from the water. It might have sprung up. So all of those things, grew and rose, we know that those are things that a castle or a fortress can't do because they're human characteristics, aren't they? But we're applying them to the castle. So pause the video here for me and see if you can fill in some different ideas for your time adverbials, the description for what is in front of her, and then the personification, and then I will add a couple more extra ideas on there as well. Okay, so let's add a couple more ideas to this. So time adverbials, a few minutes later, we could have suddenly, you could use all of a sudden, you could have as the day stretched, lots of possibilities there. Anything that sort of signals the time that's passed. And then descriptions for what she's seen. So we've got fortress and castle. You might describe it as being a stronghold. You might suggest that it is a stone village. Maybe stone village. And then our personification. So we've got that it grew from the water, it rose from the water. So we've got to think about what else we could include there. We might have ascended from the water. We might have it stretched or sprang up. Anything that makes you think of that sort of human action works as personification, and obviously we're thinking of it sort of coming out of the water, aren't we, in different ways. So if you want to include any of the ideas we've jotted down here in your thinking side, you can jot those down now. You can pause the video if you need to. Okay, let's have a little look at our sentence then. So as I said, you're going to be beginning your sentence with a time adverbial, so we're using that as a fronted adverbial and a comma, and we're going to personify how the fortress appeared in front of the girl. If you've decided to use the word fortress, you don't have to. So I'm going to open with before long, followed by a comma, the shadow of a huge fortress grew from the water. So before long, the shadow of a huge fortress grew from the water. So when you write your sentence, you might decide not to use the word shadow, okay? You might decide to put something else in there that you feel is better for the way that you're describing it. And if, again, you're wanting to think about deep in the moment, you might think about, well, what is the water like? You might say, the shadow of a huge fortress grew from the crystal clear water. Because we're still trying to keep it quite positive, aren't we, in terms of her journey along at this moment in time. So pause the video here. Have a go at writing your sentence that begins with that time adverbial followed by a comma, and you're using personification to say how the fortress appeared in front of the girl, using that human characteristic. Okay, looking at learning chunk 2 then. So here we're going to be thinking about similes and metaphors, and we've done a little bit of work on this, haven't we now? So remember, a simile is where you use like or as to compare one thing to another. And then a metaphor is similar, except we do not use like or as, and we are almost saying that something is something else for our comparison. So there are 2 techniques where you compare things, but you do that in a slightly different way. So the first thing we're going to think about is collecting positive words to describe the domes and the spires that we can see in the picture here and what they look like. So I'll start you off. We might describe them as glistening domes. We might describe them as gleaming. Okay? So what I would suggest that you do is we'll collect the words over here first, and then we'll have a look at how we can create similes and metaphors about the domes. So pause the video, see if you can collect positive words to describe the domes and the spires, and then we'll come back together and share some ideas. Okay, so we might describe them as golden. We might suggest that they are inviting, shining, sparkling. There's lots of different words that you could use there. You might say glimmering, glowing, anything that suggests that they are just, they might be beaming, anything that suggests that they are sort of these shiny, wonderful domes and spires that are on our building. So then looking at the next slide, we're thinking about similes and metaphors to describe how they might have shone. So when we open our sentence, we might use our metaphor to talk about the golden domes, because there's quite a few golden domes, isn't there? So you might suggest that the golden domes are a crown of golden domes. You might not use the word golden, you might use the word glistening or shining, it doesn't matter, this is just my example. So you might say a crown of golden domes, and then in our sentence we might say what they are like. So it's using those 2 skills. So I would focus on the sort of the domes here, and then talking about what they were like. So you might see something like a crown of golden domes and gleaming spires, glinting like jewels in the skies. So you can see the difference there. I'm saying that I've got a crown of golden domes. We know it's not an actual crown, but that's the comparison we're making. And then we're saying what they are shining or glinting or glistening like. And I've chosen like jewels in the skies there. But you could choose all sorts of things. You might suggest that they're like enchanted stars. Okay, you might suggest that they're like a cluster of diamonds maybe. So pause the video here, have a go at creating your own metaphors for what you can see. Remember, there's lots of them, that's why I've gone for sort of the crown. And then also your similes, so what do they look like? And make that comparison to go for something shiny, something that stands out in that one. And then we'll come back together and I'll share a couple of more ideas in case you're unsure. Okay, so I'll pop a couple more down here. So a crown of golden domes, we might say it's a world, because it's not the whole world, that's the metaphor, a world of shining domes and gleaming spires. We might suggest that it's a sea of glistening domes and sparkling spires. And we've got alliteration in there as well. So hopefully you can see the difference. We're just saying that it is a crown of golden domes, it is a world of shining domes, it is a sea of glistening domes, even though we know it's not literally true. And then here for our similes, you might say that they were, I'd say if you're picking one of these to try and not repeat the word that you've used there. So we might say shining like enchanted stars or magical stars. We might also say, let's have a look, what haven't I used yet? Glimmering like precious treasures. Okay, so they're just a couple of my ideas. So if you would like to magpie any of them and put them in your learning chunk too, that's absolutely fine. You can pause the video and record some of those ideas if needed. You're going to need at least one metaphor and at least one simile for yours. Okay, I'm hoping that I'm still recording there. I got a little message to say that I'd needed to delete some items, so hopefully it's not interrupted it too much. Right, let's have a look at the model sentence then. So I'm going to go for a crown of golden domes for my metaphor. So a crown of golden domes and sparkling, shall I go sparkling? I might go gleaming. Gleaming spires, glinting like jewels in the skies. So there we can see I've got my positive description, I've got my metaphor, a crown of golden domes, and I've got my simile as well. I'm saying they're like jewels in the skies. And I've also got a little bit of alliteration, haven't I? The golden domes, gleaming spires, glinting like jewels in the skies. So you could also do that as well in your writing if you wanted to deepen the moment for yours as well. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video here and see if you can write your sentence, which includes a metaphor and a simile as well. Okay, moving on to our last learning chunk then. So here we're concentrating on this image on the left, and it's where the girl meets the guards for the first time. And I want us to think about, can we tell if the guards are friendly or are they hostile? So are they unwelcoming or are they welcoming? And what might they say to the girl? They might. I think when I look at this picture, the waving, so to me that suggests that they're being friendly. I think if they didn't want the girl to come into their fortress, then they most definitely wouldn't be waving. They would be sending her on her way, wouldn't they? They wouldn't be letting her in at this bit. So record some ideas. So they might simply say hello. They might say welcome. Okay, they might say bonjour. Maybe they're French, who knows? So pause the video here and have a go at recording some ideas for what the guards might say to the girl. Okay, they might say, hola. We don't know where they're from at this point, do we? They might say greetings, or they might say it in lots of different languages because they don't know where the girl's from. Hola, hello, welcome, regards, hi. We could do different versions of hello, couldn't we? So anything that shows that they're greeting the girl. They might say, hello, hola, how are you? There's lots of possibilities, isn't there? Let's have a look at our last sentence then. So we're going to write 3 greetings from the guards and we're going to use speech punctuation and then we're going to show that the girl went in. So if we're using dialogue, we need our inverted commas opening our speech, remember, and I'm going to begin with bonjour. I'm going to use exclamation marks as well. Hello. Welcome. And my punctuation is inside my inverted commas to close the speech. Bonjour, hello, welcome, waved the guards as they opened the drawbridge. Okay, so that's my last sentence. Bonjour, hello, welcome, using my inverted commas, punctuation inside them, and waved the guards as they opened the drawbridge. Okay, if you were wanting to deepen the moment there, you might tell me how they opened the drawbridge. Okay, they're going to open it carefully, slowly. Are they going to be trying to open it as quick as they can? What might they be doing? See how you can show your reader that it appears that the guards are happy for the girl to be there with them. Okay, so this brings us to the end. So it's your turn to write your last sentence, and then when you've done that, as always, read it back as a whole sentence stack. Think about, does it make sense? Have I got all my punctuation in the right places? Thinking about those inverted commas. Have we got the basic punctuation right in terms of your capital letters and full stops? Does what you've written make sense? And can you tick off all of the things that were on our steps to success today? Thank you very much for listening to this lesson. I do hope it's helping having a little voice recording over the top, but always let me know in the messages if there's anything else that I can do to help you. And I'm looking forward to seeing your writing as always. Well done, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.